Good morning, everyone. This is Kelly Zonderwijk, and Sarah O'Connell is here too with the Arlington Green Games. And we're going to go ahead and start promptly today with our March webinar for office tenants. Our webinar series is broken out between the two different tracks of the program. And so if you haven't participated in any of our previous webinars, this morning's webinar is just for the office tenant competitors, and then this afternoon we'll have a webinar on a different topic that is more geared toward the property management track of the program. A few quick things about today's webinar. We are encouraging all of the attendees to join via the telephone. There'll be 3 numbers. If you choose to log on the telephone, there'll be 3 numbers that you have to enter: the phone number, an access code, and then most importantly, a personal audio pin that gets assigned to you. You certainly have the option of listening through the speakers on the computer, but if you would like the opportunity to speak with any of our presenters or ask any questions verbally over the, you'll have to join via the telephone. And along those lines, during the Q&A session, which will happen at the end of the webinar after all 3 speakers have presented their information, we'll ask you if you've joined on the computer and are listening through speakers. Then the way that you'll ask your question is by typing it into the chat window of the webinar software. If you've joined over the telephone and you've entered your audio pin, then we can actually go ahead and unmute you, and you can ask your question. There's a little hand icon in the webinar software that you'll click, and that'll just let us know that you're raising your hand and want the opportunity to say something. As with all of our webinars, today's is being recorded, and it will be made available to our website, no later than tomorrow. That's under the Events tab of the arlingtongreengames.com website. At the very bottom of that page, you can find all of the presentations as well as the webinar recordings. So for today's agenda, we just are going to pretty much jump right into things. We have one programmatic update to share with you, and then we'll kick things off with our speakers on our green purchasing expert speakers. We'll hear from the U.S. EPA, and they'll be able to speak about how you set up a green purchasing policy, how you implement one, just the key components to help get you started. The United Soybean Board, as many of you know, is a partner of ours with the Green Games, and has actually been providing some EPEAT floor mats to some of our competitors to display in the lobby of their buildings or offices. And they'll speak specifically about bio-based products, which can be a key component of any green purchasing policy. And then one of our competitors, ERG, who's actually just right across the street from us here in the courthouse area, will be able to present on best practices for green purchasing that they've implemented in their office space. So I mentioned just a quick programmatic update. We wanted to let you all know that we've surpassed 110 competitors for the program. We're actually at about 120 as of this morning, so we're really pleased with that. Obviously, the program has been really well received by the community. Popularity continues to grow, and so we will allow continued registration through June. And obviously, those who register later will have a shorter period of time to complete any of their actions and improvements, because all final results will definitely be due by the end of February of 2012, and we will hold strict to that deadline. But that gives you time to earn your extra point on the scorecard for referring other businesses, or even your property management company of your building if they're not already participating. So we're happy to work with you on that and reach out to anybody and everybody that wants to participate in the program. So with that, we're going to go ahead and turn it on over I'm going to turn it over to Sarah, and she will introduce our first speaker.
Thanks, Kelly. So first, we're going to hear from Kelly with the US EPA, and she works in EPA's Pollution Prevention Division, participating in several initiatives focused on making a variety of industries more sustainable. Specifically, she does work on green products and the greening of the hotel and conference industry. She also helps to coordinate the Economy, Energy, and Environment Initiative called E3, which seeks to help small and medium-sized manufacturers become more efficient. So welcome, Kelly. Thanks for joining us today.
Great. Thank you so much. Yes, as Sarah said, my name is Kelly Waddell, and I work in the Pollution Prevention Division at EPA. I'm just going to give a short presentation on green purchasing, and the main information I really want to get to you today is on the resources that are available for finding green products. There's a lot out there, and it can be a very confusing area to navigate, and so hopefully this will just give you some solid resources to look to when trying to green your office. So there's a lot of drivers in the green market right now. Manufacturers are seeing cost savings from producing environmentally friendly products, and there's also a greater customer demand. Retailers are also seeing this customer demand, and they're having to answer a lot of corporate policies. And then institutional purchasers, such as the government, are having a lot of mandates given to them. So the whole arena is growing very quickly, and it's definitely something to kind of hop on board with now and become familiar with the area. One of the biggest issues that you will find in finding a green product is there are multiple definitions of green. Certain labels focus on single attributes like water efficiency versus other labels that are multi-attribute that take into account how the product is made, how it will be disposed, the chemicals that go into the product. It looks at everything, like it says below, their life cycle considerations. And then different green government mandates and voluntary consensus standards, which I'll talk about in a second, and private eco-labels, they all have their own definitions of green. So when looking for green products, it's very important to be aware of what your actual label means. This is one of my favorite slides. It shows just a snapshot of the plethora of labels that are out there. Some are government labels, some are corporate eco-labels, and they all kind of mean different things. You put this little stamp on a product, and everyone assumes that it means you're buying a great product, and you're really not sure because it doesn't really tell you what goes into the product. So kind of as I was getting at, there's a lot of obstacles to green purchasing. So the traditional suppliers don't necessarily always supply green products, even though that's becoming much less of a problem as the demand grows. Low volume products have cost issues. They're not made as for a larger audience, and so you might have to pay a greater premium to get them. There's also performance concerns. A lot of people assume that because something's green means it might not last as long or it's not as strong a performer. Kind of a funny story with that is when they initially came out with low-flow toilets, they did actually have issues with that. But this is kind of a rumor that is something that has been dealt with, especially with a lot of the federal labels. They go through just as much testing. So I definitely want to encourage that that is not something to really worry about with green products. And like I said earlier, there's still those confusing, conflicting definitions of green that can make this a very confusing field. But there is a way to get information on your products. One way is to use voluntary consensus standards. These standards are made with groups of individuals from all different stakeholders, and they post publicly what their standards look at and what the requirements are. And so these are just a couple examples of standards that exist. ASTM and ULE are two of the larger companies that do standards, and so you can always go to their websites to look at what information they are considering in their standards to allow a product to get certified. And private eco program labels like LEED, Green Guard, Cradle to Cradle, those also are posted, and you can get information on what they are looking at because they're working directly with the supply chains and they go through a very rigorous process to get a certification. There is something to be aware of, though. There are often a few challenges in obtaining the correct environmental information. A lot of companies are very private with their proprietary data, and it's also a large cost to kind of do certain analysis. And so it's something that while there is a lot of information out there, you're always going to have trouble fully understanding what goes into certain grain labels. So as I said before, the examples on the previous slide, those are very strong websites to look into. They're very open, and they definitely reveal what they're considering with labeling product green. So there are several types of green products, and on this slide I have listed just the federal green purchasing mandates. We have requirements for recycled content products, energy efficient products, water efficient, alternative fuels, bio-based, environmentally preferable products, and non-ozone depleting substances. So as you can see, it is a huge field with products, with environmentally friendly products on a variety of categories. And so as you're trying to find products for your office, definitely look at the large spectrum and the different areas. I know our later speaker is going to talk about bio-based products, but for offices, especially recycled content products, energy efficient products, and then EPP, environmentally preferable products. Those are definitely three areas where a lot of your daily use needs can be met by purchasing products that are better for the environment. One standard I wanted to make everyone aware of is EPEAT. It's for green electronics. Currently it's for computers and monitors, but they're coming out with more electronic standards this year and next year. This is a great standard. It is a federal standard run by federally right now, and it looks at the materials actually put in computers. It gets rid of a lot of hazardous materials. It looks at how a product can get recycled, end of life. It also takes into account energy conservation. So these products you can find on the EPEAT website, and a lot of your computer needs can be met with them, and it's just a great standard for office managers to be aware of. And then I just threw this one up here as an example of the spectrum of standards you can find for environmental products. I mean, Green Seal actually has a standard out there for hand cleaners, and it looks at, you know, VOC content and biodegradability, packaging, and labeling. So it's not just, you know, general office materials. You need to think about taking it beyond to your cleaning supplies and what can you put in the bathroom and things like that, because it really, things we do on a daily basis, there's really a lot of great products out there to consider looking for standards in, and because you can definitely just green your office in ways that you couldn't do 20 years ago, and it's definitely something to push for. So this is probably what I really wanted everyone to take away from this presentation is there are lots of resources out there. So this slide and the next slide have different websites posted for different product areas. They're definitely very useful. They're kept up to date. These are all federal websites that I'm providing you with. And just to make you aware that very soon the EPA is going to be coming out with an environmentally preferred product green products database. They already have, excuse me, I said that wrong. They already have an environmentally preferred products database, but they're going to be coming out with a green products database. And that's another resource to look for very soon. This continues, and then at the bottom you can see the EPP website, and I definitely recommend that because it has a variety of options available. So it's definitely a wide area to be aware of. Definitely look at the different content going into your labels, but I would definitely take the time to look at these different resources because you'd be surprised at how many different products you can purchase that are considered green. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I know that it's a very wide field to navigate, as I said before. So if you have any questions, if I can't answer them, I definitely have a lot of contacts that focus in specific areas. So that's all. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Kelly. I think we have time if anybody has any immediate questions for Kelly right now. We're happy to take a couple of questions now. We'll also have some Q&A time at the end too, so we can, if there are other questions that arise or come to mind, we can do that as well. So what we'll do is go ahead and transition to our next speaker, Melissa Narens, and she is a public relations affairs consultant, and she has worked in partnership with KCE Public Affairs through the United Soybean Board and National Biodiesel Board for the past 10 years. Her work includes developing and implementing communications and media relations initiatives, public and government education, and outreach activities. So welcome, Melissa, and we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to all of you today about bio-based products and how they can be part of your green purchasing program. I want to start by talking a little bit about the United Soybean Board and what it is. It's a farmer-led organization that oversees the investment of the soybean checkoff, which is a program paid for by soybean farmers. And it invests in programs and activities to advance soybean marketing, production technology, and the development of new uses for soybean-based products. And USDA has oversight over USB and the soybean checkoff. And we don't make any products or sell products, but we do provide information about different bio-based products made from soybeans that are out there. So just give you a little background on the United Soybean Board. Okay, what are bio-based products? Well, first of all, they are products made from biological materials, including renewable agricultural and forestry materials. They can be made from crops like soybeans, corn, wheat, and cotton. Many of you have probably heard of soy ink that's used for printing and possibly biodiesel fuel that's commonly made from soybeans. But you may not be aware that there are many other bio-based products made from renewable resources that are available in the marketplace today. For example, there are bio-based products include cleaners, carpet backing, foam seating for furniture, toner for printing cartridges, energy-efficient roofing materials, lubricants, and many more products. And there are a number of environmental and health and safety benefits, which I will talk about a little bit later in the presentation. As office tenants, there are a number of bio-based products that you might be interested in that can help with your green purchasing efforts. So I'm going to mention a few that would be most relevant to you. The first is cleaning products. There are a number of bio-based cleaning products that are on the market, hand cleaners, general purpose cleaners, glass cleaners, bathroom cleaners, graffiti removers, many others as well. And some of these products, like those in the photo on the left, made by New Tech, are even being carried in major retail outlets like Home Depot, Ace Hardware, and Kroger. I'll get into more details about where to find these products a little bit later as well. Next, we have soy foam that's used in furniture cushions. We recently documented more than 50 companies that are using soy foam to replace a portion of the petroleum-based foam that's used in furniture cushions. And several large retailers, Crate & Barrel and Lazy Boy, for example, are using soy-based foam now. And our website, the USB website, has a list of these companies, some of which do sell office chairs and furnishings. So that's something you may want to take a look at. And the next two photos show a lobby entrance mat and carpeting made with soy-based backing. And those of you who attended the Green Games kickoff in October may remember we had a putting green there on display that was made with a soy-backed carpet and a welcome mat as well by our table. And I know, as Kelly mentioned, some of you are probably already or have indicated that you're interested in receiving an entry mat as recognition for participating in the program. We're providing some of those to participants. An example of a user of soy-backed carpeting is the U.S. Air Force. They operate one of the largest lodging operations in the world and began using carpeting made with soy-based backing in 2009. And in 2010, they had installed the soy-backed carpeting in about 3,000 or 10% of their rooms. And the plan is, as the carpet is upgraded every 6 years, they are installing this soy-backed carpeting. So eventually, all of their rooms will be using soy-backed carpeting. Remanufactured laser printer cartridges that contain bio-based toner are another product that you can use in your office. The developers of the bio-based resin material that are used to make the toner received a Presidential Green Chemistry Award from the EPA for their work. And these cartridges with the bio-based toner are currently available for 14 different HP printer models. And I won't go through that list, but I do have it available. It's on our website as well if you're interested in checking for your printer there. They're designed to perform in the exact same way as a typical toner cartridge, so there's no adjustment needed to your printer. And it also has the double benefit of being made from recycled cartridge cores and replacing a portion of the petroleum-based toner materials with a renewable bio-based resource. So it's really a win-win-win. In addition to these bio-based products that I've mentioned, there are a number of others that can be used in office buildings, such as white roof coatings to help with energy efficiency, soy-based paints. These are things that you as office tenants may not have direct responsibility for. I would encourage you to talk to your building owner or property manager about how to further green your office with some of these other products as well. Why use bio-based products? Well, there are a number of important benefits. First, they can help curb dependence on foreign oil. They can reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and there are also a number of other environmental and health benefits, such as lower VOCs, reduced exposure to toxic chemicals during cleanup, and also less irritation from odors for those that are working with the products. As I mentioned, greenhouse gas reduction is one of the most important benefits of using bio-based products. And last year, the United Soybean Board released a peer-reviewed life cycle profile that documents multiple energy and environmental benefits of U.S. soybean farming and processing. And it's a cradle-to-gate scope. It began with soybean farming and went all the way through the processing of the products and found significant greenhouse gas reductions. As soybeans grow, they remove greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. And one of our major findings was that the 3.36 billion bushels of soybeans grown in the U.S. in 2009 removed the carbon equivalent of taking 21 million cars off the road. So that's a really big impact. When you're making a purchasing decision, comparing bio-based products to petroleum-based products, there are several things to consider. I would urge you to not simply make your decision based on the initial price, but really look at the costs and benefits of using the product over its full life cycle. And I know that sounds like it can be complicated, but it doesn't really have to be. There are a few simple questions that you can ask to help make a better, more informed decision. For example, you can look at things like, will the product perform the job at a lower usage rate or last longer during use? Does the bio-based product pose less exposure risk to employees in the form of irritation to skin, lungs, or eyes? If it's released, are there fewer harmful emissions? And also, can the product be recycled after it's used? And if not, can it be disposed of more safely or with less cost than the alternative? USB has developed a really simple two-page checklist that you can use to compare bio-based and alternative products. And it's just 16 yes or no questions. And we also have a user guide that will help tell you where to go to find the information you need to answer the questions. So it's very user-friendly, and it is available on our website as well. Finding bio-based products. Kelly talked about this, and she did mention the USDA Bio Preferred Program website, which is a great resource, and also USB's website. The address is on the slide as well. And USB, as I mentioned, doesn't make or sell any products, but we do maintain an ongoing catalog of soy-based products and manufacturers. It's continually updated as we learn of new manufacturers and new products coming into the market. We try to keep it updated, and it does include contact information for those manufacturers. USDA's website lists the products which fall into different item categories like carpet cleaners or bathroom cleaners that USDA has designated for preferred purchasing by federal agencies. And another thing you can do is ask the companies for whom you're currently buying your products whether they carry any bio-based alternatives. Many distributors, more and more, are adding bio-based choices to their product offerings. For example, Grainger Industrial Supply has a number of bio-based products that they are now offering customers. Kelly also touched on the labeling issue, and while there are a number of labels out there, there's another label that is going to be coming into the marketplace soon in January of this year USDA introduced a federal USDA certified bio-based product label, and it really is expected to help increase awareness about the benefits of bio-based products and help consumers who are looking to purchase the products. As you can see in this example, it specifies what percentage of a product or the product's packaging comes from bio-based ingredients. And companies are just now beginning to apply for the label, so you can expect to see it on products in the coming months. It is not out there quite yet. And as Kelly mentioned, with all of the other labels that are out there, I do want to say that bio-based products may also carry other labels as well, such as EPA's Design for the Environment. So you should look at all of the labels that are out there. And finally, let us know if you would like more information about any of the products or others that you've heard about today, or if you'd like to try any of the products on a trial basis, we can arrange that as well. My contact information is here on the slide, as well as my colleagues Karen Edwards and Sue Ann Pfifferling. Any of us can help answer questions or arrange for a trial. Thank you very much, and I will be happy to answer any questions at the end of the webinar.
Great. Thank you so much, Melissa. It was a great update on things that are happening in the industry, so appreciate that. And now we'll go ahead and transition to our third and final speaker, to Lynn Augustin, who's a Senior Communications Manager with ERG here in Arlington, Virginia, where she manages outreach and communications projects related to air quality, climate change, energy conservation, and sustainability, primarily in support of U.S. EPA programs. So, again, ERG is a competitor in the Green Games, and go ahead and turn it over to Lynn.
Hi, welcome everyone. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Today I'm going to be talking about ERG's efforts in the area of green purchasing, particularly in our Arlington office. My personal experience with green purchasing dates back to when I first joined ERG in 1997, and I managed our support for EPA's Comprehensive Procurement Guidelines, which is essentially the federal government's Buy Recycled program. And I also have managed portions of our support for EPA's Environmentally Preferable Purchasing program, which Kelly mentioned earlier. I'd like to start off by first just providing a brief overview of our company. ERG is a multidisciplinary consulting firm providing expertise in the fields of economics, environmental issues, communications, and meeting planning. Our clients include federal and state agencies, nonprofits, private corporations, and universities. We were founded in 1984 in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and we are now headquartered in Lexington, Massachusetts, which is right outside of Boston. And then throughout the 1990s, our company expanded geographically, and today we have currently 11 offices nationwide with approximately 400 employees, including 52 employees in the Arlington office. So we've always considered ourselves to be a green company because of the work that we do for our clients. So it's only natural that we would have extended these principles to our own company's activities. And even the space that we currently occupy helps us reduce our environmental impact. When our lease was due to expire on our previous office space in 2007, we began searching for new space in the courthouse area that would complement our current greening efforts a little bit better. And we were fortunate enough to come across the new Navy League building at 2300 Wilson Boulevard. Some of you might recognize our building in the image here. The Navy League building is a Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, or LEED Silver certified building. In fact, the building is the first office building in Arlington to pursue LEED Silver certification. And if anyone is not familiar with the LEED program, LEED buildings are basically green buildings that meet certain criteria for energy and water efficiency and sustainability. These are just some of the green features of our building. 10% of the materials used in constructing the building have a minimum of 20% recycled content. The lumber and millwork that was used in the building are from responsibly harvested forests that have Forest Stewardship Council certification. The building utilizes low-emitting materials such as adhesives, sealants, paints, and carpet to reduce emission of VOCs. The building has a light-colored Energy Star roofing material that reduces the building temperature and minimizes energy consumption during the summer months. And once the tenants had moved into the building and operations had started, a green housekeeping program was instituted to help reduce exposure of building occupants and maintenance personnel to potentially hazardous chemicals. They also use recycled content paper products in the bathrooms. There is occupancy sensor lighting in all the individual offices and bathrooms in the building. And finally, water consumption in the building is reduced by 77% through a variety of methods, including dual flush toilets, auto control faucets with aerators in all the bathrooms, and stormwater and groundwater is collected for use in urinal, toilets, and mechanical systems. So we feel really good about working in a green building whose environmental attributes mesh so well with our other efforts, including our green purchasing efforts. But long before we had moved into our current office space, ERG was well ahead of the curve in implementing extensive green purchasing and recycling programs. Regarding our green purchasing, all of our office supplies, such as pens, Post-it notes, envelopes, and binders, are purchased with recycled content. We have a recycled products office supply book, catalog that our office manager orders supplies from. And whenever we have to order something that's not available from that catalog, we research other recycled content options from other sources. In addition, 99% of all of our copy paper that we purchase is 100% post-consumer recycled content. All of our furniture purchases have some degree of recycled content or can be recycled. For example, all of the chairs that we purchase for our individual offices have 50% recycled content and are 95% recyclable. And we've also considered employee comfort and health by making sure our chairs are ergonomic to reduce fatigue. We also use green cleaning supplies in our office kitchen, including biodegradable or non-toxic soaps and detergents, and recycled content paper products like paper towels and napkins. Also, all the appliances that we purchase, such as computers, refrigerators, and microwaves, have the Energy Star label for energy efficiency. We also purchase organic coffee, and we receive a weekly box of fresh, mostly organic fruit from a distributor that supports local, small, family-run farms. The box is made of a patented recyclable material, and so we are able to actually return the box to the company each week for recycling. And we also try to buy locally as much as possible. We use compact fluorescent light bulbs instead of incandescent light bulbs in all of our task lighting. And I mentioned earlier that the bathrooms in the building have aerators on the faucets. We actually went one step further and bought an aerator for the faucet that is in the kitchen sink in our kitchen to conserve water even more. Another major green purchasing activity that we participate in is we buy green power. ERG purchases more than 1.7 million kilowatt hours of green power each year, which covers all the electricity needs for our offices nationwide. The Arlington office's portion of this total is more than 240,000 kilowatt hours a year. By buying green power, this demonstrates a proactive choice to switch away from traditional sources of electricity generation and support cleaner, renewable energy alternatives. Our green power procurement is accomplished through the purchase of renewable energy certificates, or RECs. RECs basically represent the environmental and other non-power attributes of renewable energy generation. In our case, the renewable energy that's put back into the grid on our behalf based on our REC purchases consists of electricity from 50% wind power and 50% landfill gas. And according to EPA, ERG's green power purchase is equivalent to avoiding the carbon dioxide emissions of nearly 250 passenger vehicles per year, or the emissions from the electricity use of more than 150 average American homes each year. We also, as a company, encourage our employees to purchase green power for their own homes, and we recognize those that do on our Green Power Wall of Fame, which is posted on our intranet. In addition to these green purchasing activities, we are very focused on recycling and reducing waste to the greatest extent possible. It's important to realize that in some of these cases, these activities are tied to green purchasing because they ultimately help us reduce the amount of new materials that we have to purchase. But even though not all of these other activities are considered green purchasing, I still thought it was important to mention them because they're important components to our overall greening program. And many of these activities are very simple measures that would be quite easy to implement in any office. First off, we have an extensive recycling program in which we collect mixed paper, copy paper wrappers, paperboard, plastic grocery bags, batteries, plastic containers, aluminum cans, Tyvek envelopes, and techno trash, which includes multimedia items like CDs and videotapes, old cell phones, and toner cartridges. We also participate in food waste composting during the spring, summer, and fall. And the way this works is that employees place eligible food waste items, such as fruit and vegetable peels and coffee grounds and tea bags, in a special container that's lined with a biodegradable plastic bag. And the container is shown here on the left-hand side on the slide. And then an employee who happens to be an avid composter and gardener takes the food waste home for worm composting in her yard, and then she uses the resulting compost in her garden. She's shared the outcome of her work with the office on several occasions. You can see here on the right-hand side some pumpkins that she grew in her garden using the compost that was generated from our food waste. And she actually brought one of these pumpkins into our office for decorating at one of our annual Halloween parties. We also try to reduce our generation of waste as much as possible. Each employee is provided with a quart-sized mini garbage can. They're pictured here on the slide in each office to encourage recycling by having a small trash receptacle instead of a regular-sized garbage can. It forces employees to think twice about what they're throwing away and decide whether it could be recycled or composted instead. Everyone also receives a reusable recycled content shopping bag for carrying lunch or other items to and from the office to cut down on plastic bags coming into the office. And we also each get a personal cloth dish towel for use in drying our hands or dishes instead of using paper towels each time. One tool that has helped us achieve such success with our green purchasing and waste reduction efforts is our Green Team. The Green Team was initiated in 1995 to ensure that employees reduce solid waste, recycle, and buy recycled products for the office. Our office manager is a key member of the team, as well as several other employees. I'll note that participating on the Green Team is done on a purely voluntary basis. Establishing a Green Team is important. Is an important step in greening your operations because the team not only implements new ideas and programs, but also improves existing processes and motivates employees to do better. And just to give you a couple examples of some Green Team activities, the team coordinates much of our office recycling and has set up a recycling center near our kitchen with very clear signage and labels. And also they've situated mixed paper recycling bins throughout the office to make recycling as easy as possible. The team also sends out office-wide tips for reducing waste and conserving energy. For example, they remind employees to set their computers to default to duplex printing and to make sure their computer monitors are set for sleep mode when they're away from the office. And the Green Team is also responsible for tracking our reductions in energy use and paper consumption. Another tool we use to enhance our greening efforts is our environmental management system, or EMS, which we established in 2006. Interestingly, in 2005, we had first helped EPA implement its EMS through across the entire agency, which was an executive order requirement of all federal agencies at the time. So then we went one step further and decided to implement an EMS for ourselves. An EMS is a way in which an organization can formalize and standardize how it addresses environmental issues. Obviously, we were already doing a lot of things to reduce our environmental impact, but our EMS provides a way to add focus and structure to our efforts. By having an EMS in place, we're able to analyze and understand how our activities impact the environment and quantify that impact where possible. It allows us to concentrate our attention on those areas where our impact is greatest or where there are the best opportunities for making some improvement. It allows us to standardize our practices across the company where practical. And finally, it allows us to measure and report and, of course, celebrate our progress. Currently, as I mentioned in a previous slide, we're tracking energy use and paper consumption, and this is being largely done as part of our EMS. With energy, we track energy consumption at each ERG office, and I mentioned some of the things that we are doing to help reduce our energy use, like purchasing Energy Star appliances and ensuring that sleep mode is activated on our computer monitors. With paper, someone in each office is responsible for measuring total quarterly paper consumption for that particular office. And then by instituting certain paper-reducing activities, like encouraging duplex printing, we can measure and track the effects on our consumption. We also occasionally sponsor competitions between offices to see who can reduce their quarterly per capita paper consumption by the greatest amount. This type of activity encourages employees to be more conscious of what they're printing and copying. So that concludes my presentation, and thank you for listening, and I'm happy to try to answer any questions that anyone has.
Okay, thanks. Thanks so much, Lynn. What we're going to do now is go ahead and unmute all of our speakers. And for the attendees, it seems as though most of you have joined over the computer and are likely listening through your computer speakers, which is fine. But unless you have a microphone attached to your computer, you won't be able to ask a question out loud. For instance, Andrew Adamson, I see that you had your hand raised, and you're joined on the speaker. So if you wouldn't mind typing the question that you had into the chat window, that goes for anybody that maybe might have some questions that is joined on the computer. If you'll go ahead and type any questions or comments, we'll go ahead and read them out loud and ask our speakers to address those. If you are on the telephone, feel free to click the raise hand button. We'll see that, and we'll unmute you, and you can just go ahead and speak to us over the telephone. So one of our first questions is for Lynn. The question is, how does ERG purchase their energy in a rented building?
It is a, we do it for our company as a whole. We purchase the RECs, and I don't actually, I don't actually deal with purchasing the RECs, obviously. So I'm not sure I'm totally able to answer the specifics of how it works. But I know that it's done like on a company-wide basis, not on an individual office basis.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? We just wanted to pull up the scorecard real quickly for office tenants. Many of you have already submitted your baseline scorecards, which were due on the 28th. If you haven't, feel free to contact us about getting that submitted. And so as you likely are aware, there's the category for materials. 10 points are possible in that category, and the bulk of the points are related to creating and implementing a green purchasing policy and some of the key components that you could have of that policy. Obviously, purchasing of green products impacts all the other categories of the scorecard as well, and it's kind of incorporated throughout other pieces of the scorecard. But you know, we want to encourage you, because so many of you don't have a green purchasing policy in place, to really take some time to inventory what's going on in your office, really kind of understand how and who is making purchases, whether there's one person that is responsible for doing all office supply orders, or whether anybody on your staff really can submit an order, and how often those orders are being placed and you're getting deliveries of different office products. That would be a key first step. And then you want to kind of take a look at all of that information and then set your goals for reduction of the number of times that you're getting your deliveries, reduction in the actual products that you're purchasing, where possible, just streamlining your process overall. Maybe if you have a very decentralized process where any staff member can make purchases, maybe you want to consider revising that slightly so that there's more of a centralized process. You want to definitely educate all of your staff on whatever purchasing policies you do decide to implement, and then of course reinforce those policies with the folks that are actually clicking purchase on your orders. And you know, your policies can include limits too. Oftentimes they might include limits on a specific dollar amount more that you're willing to spend on a green product, maybe versus a non-green product. You can specify which of the labels that you've heard a lot about today you want to focus on purchasing, and those kinds of things. So any other questions? As we said, today's webinar is recorded. It'll get posted under the events page of our website soon, and as well as PDFs of all of the PowerPoint presentations.
Any final questions for any of our speakers, for Kelly or Melissa or Lynn? Okay, well, doesn't look like we have any other questions coming in, so thanks again to each of our speakers for your time and support of the Green Games program. We appreciate having each of you on the line today, and for all of our attendees, you as well, and hope that you found the information helpful and useful. And we look forward to working with each of you throughout the rest of the year. And as we're closing out, have a couple final thoughts for each of you. Wanted to quickly just remind you of our next events that are coming up later this month in March. Our next Mingling Monday is taking place on March 14th, just a couple weeks away, a week and a half. And that topic will focus in on transportation alternatives. And we have actually shifted the time to start at 8 a.m. So we look forward to seeing as many of you as can make it on the 14th. And then our next Time Out Tuesday is on March 29th, towards the end of the month at 11:30, and that'll be here at our offices in Courthouse. So bring your lunch and come join us. We'll be talking about transportation, the transportation topic as well. We'll have some great speakers for you all. And again, there's our contact information, Kelly and my contact information if you have any questions. And that's about it. Thanks again for joining us today, and we will see you with each of you soon. Thank you.